Okay, on to the database tasks. So task 3, but video part 2. And there's nothing particularly sort of sneaky in here. Pretty standard database stuff. A couple of sort of pseudo theory questions about like database theory, but they're both quite small marks. All three of them are quite small marks. So it's nothing particularly dangerous there. But we might as well just get started. So the first thing to be aware of, it asks you to check your files. So examine the data on both of these. You don't have to, but sometimes when I actually examine things, there'll be missing field names, or it just gives you an idea of what's going to happen. So it's worth looking at. So with rooms, you can see there's nothing particularly exciting there. This looks like prices of some sort, but beyond that, nothing to be aware of. In here, you've noticed that you have some dates, you have a yes and no, and some primary keys, some presumably foreign keys, but nothing. Again, it all looks okay. So we don't need to save that either. So we're going to import them. As you hopefully know, these all look like Excel files, but comma separated values, again, sort of universal data formats, so not specific to any application. And these are actually text files. And in GCSE, you're always importing text. And we're going to get the text from our exam files. And in here, we want to import students first. And okay. So it's delimited. First look into field names every time without fail. Your roll number is your primary key. And you want to check that your dates are in the right format. You know there's dates in here. You need to make sure it's day, month, year, because Cambridge is British and you need to use a British format. Otherwise you will find some errors. It's also worth noting that it's worth changing this here to yes and no. And the rest of the stuff you can change later. So, okay. Next. And we can import that. And oh no, import errors. Ah. It didn't like that, sorry. Mistakes. Import errors do happen, as you've evidently seen. So you need to be more careful this time. Importing students. Okay. Next. First look at his field names. Paid. I'll leave paid as 101 for now. Next. I'll choose my own primary key, which is that. Oh, well. This should be day, month, year. Paid. Should be yes and no. Because it is just either one, which is classic yes and no. Click on next. Finish that. And this time import with no errors. So I don't know what I did the first time. I guess I could watch it back. We want to fix this a bit. So this should be yes and no as opposed to 1 and 0. So we want to make that yes and no. While we're here, we're going to have to add some validations. If you click on gender, validation rules, so you either accept M or F. Yes, there are now like 17 genders, I believe, but for the purpose of a Cambridge past paper, there's only 2. If that's culturally insensitive, I apologize. It's just I didn't make it. It's CIE, it's not me. Validation text, value must be M or F. Alright, so you want to, for your evidence number 3, you want to screenshot your data types. So we can do that here, showing the primary key as well. And our evidence document. I've done this already. Sorry. Sorry, I made an error earlier and lost content, so I apologize. So that's a screenshot I just took there, showing the data types. The next screenshot we need is showing our validation rule. So that is going to be a new snip. Oh no, it's not yet, sorry. That's going to be a new snip. And you probably want to make sure you've got gender selected as well. And then you can paste that into your evidence too. Okay. So you want to add a new record to your data. Yep. So down at the bottom we will add Ella SS0072. Ella Leonard. She was born on the 27th of February 1968. Which makes her how many years old? If you're bored and you want to do some maths. SAC2. She paid by check. She's studying history of art. She is 5 weeks accommodation and she has paid. We can save this and that's us done there. Next up we do the first of our queries. As always, it asks you to produce a report, but that report will always be based on a query. So I'm going, oh wait a minute, I skipped a step. It also wants you to import the rooms table. So we're going to use external data again, text file, and we import rooms. Okay, again fixed width, column. Your primary key is probably going to be this. In fact, it tells you to set that as your primary key. And then you finish that, close. And you want to create a relationship between these two tables. So that's a database tool, relationships. You want to add both these, and you want to link your ACK code to your ACK code. And enforce referential integrity. And then you want to snip this. This is the evidence you need for showing this relationship, and it shows you everything you need. It shows you the table you've used, it shows you the field names, and it shows you the type of relationship, and that's absolutely perfect for what we need. So in your evidence document, you put that in there, and that's that. And we'll get to this next one in a minute. Create, and that's done. If it doesn't let you enforce referential integrity, it doesn't actually matter that much. It will work better, and on bigger databases you have to do it, but for our purposes you don't necessarily need it to be enforced. Okay, anyway, sorry, back to this bit. We want to do a query design. You can use the query wizard if you prefer and if you've learned that way, but I personally dislike it for no reason other than I dislike it. So the roll number, we've got the course, we have the weeks, we have the first name, the last name, the birth date, and paid in that order. It must be in that order or you don't get the marks for it, so just please be careful there. The course contains the word art, so we can do art star. So that's anything before and anything after the word art. You want courses that are 3 weeks or greater than or equal to 3 weeks. And only people who have paid for their courses are allowed in this query. So we can run that, and there's quite a lot of people, they've all paid for their courses, they all study some kind of art, so that looks right to me. And the title of this is Art Summer Schools, as it says down there. So we're going to create a report based on that. Since your query was in the right order, your report's already in the right order. There is no grouping or anything, so we can just click next. It is sorted in descending order of weeks. and then ascending order of course. And then we can click next. Just leave it tabular in every possible situation. And Art Summer Schools is the title. We want to modify the design. There's a couple more things we have to do. So you want to get the total number of people enrolled in courses. So if we select the course, total, and we count the records. And we want to display total enrollments. There is portrait, fits in a single page. Labels all displayed in full. That's not quite happened yet. So we want to choose some. It's easier to do this in layout view, but because this one's so tiny, just make it visible first. Okay, so if we go layout view, we can start positioning stuff. Roll number is quite short, so we can move this down. This is probably the most time consuming bit of the paper, getting all these things in line. Names could move down a bit. Birth dates need to be a little bit bigger. You want to keep these in line as much as possible, just so it looks nice. You can actually select more than one thing at a time. Don't know why I didn't do that. Paid. So these never look great, but better than a poke in the eye with a stick, I guess. There you go. So we've got our title, we've got the correct people shown, everything's in the right order. It's portrait, it fits in a single page wide. It's got the totals at the bottom. We need to just put a candidate number on the report. Usually it'll give you a location for it, this time it doesn't, so just whap it up here. Or wherever you, oh sorry, it's a design view. Just whap it in the header. Kevin, 1, 2, 3, 4. And close and save. So you would have to print that normally. And, oh, you need a screenshot showing the number of courses. So in your Art Summer Schools, nope, not there. In your, this one, you want that. So I'm going to snip that one. And paste that into your evidence. Alright. Next one is another query. So we want to create query design again. This time it is a complex query because we're using 2 tables. And we want first name, last name, we want weekly cost, we want course, we want weeks, accommodation, room type, and room cost. Room cost is a calculated field, so we'll add that. Oh, you also need paid, because that's one of your, but paid is invisible. So we're looking for people staying at Molesworth Lodge. And they're staying in standard rooms or rooms with an ensuite bathroom. Suite. And people who haven't paid yet, so no. We then add our calculated field, and our calculated field is called cost, and it's calculated by square brackets because we're using fields, calculated by multiplying weeks by weekly cost, which I forgot to put in square brackets. And if you run this, you'll see 685. Presumably this should be in currency. So we want to go to property sheet, weekly cost, should be the currency. This should also be currency. And there you have it. So we can save this, and we can save it as outstanding loan fees. Outstanding loan fees. Outstanding loan fees. One more time, we're going to clear the port wizard. We're going to use everything. Next. It is sorted by last name in ascending order. It fits on a single page, just a single page, not a single page wide. It is landscape. Does not display the page numbers and has your name, candidate, center number, and all that bump on the right hand side. I'm going to modify this. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to put our name on it. Kevin 1234. Candidate number as well. AB4321. And if I view this in print view, so the thing about this is it's slightly too big. So we can just make the header a little bit smaller so it fits better. You can scroll it up, and in print view, still on 2 pages. I want to make it a little bit smaller. Sorry, design view. Make the page footer a bit smaller too. Oh, sorry. That's it there. See, there's only one page now. So then we need to do the final bit in layout view to make sure everything fits. Oh. Cost. And anything else here? No. So you want to print this now, but I will just save it. Okay. Next up, you have practical theory questions. So for evidence number 7, it's talking about why you used M and F instead. So encoding data is beneficial for a number of reasons. Number 1, less mistakes / reduces human error. In real life, you would have to write proper paragraph or proper text about this, but for speed, I'm just going to bullet point them. So there's less mistakes and there's less chances of errors. Also, it's faster to type. The letter M is 4 times shorter than the word male, and the letter F is 6 times shorter than the word female. F than female. And also it takes up less space, less file size. Reduces. Using ASCII, it takes 1 byte per character. So female is 6 times larger than F. So again, it saves you some file size. And there's 3 reasons for encoding. Any 2 of those would have got you the mark. With phone numbers, again, I'm just going to kind of bullet point some key points. So the phone number one, it's sort of baiting you here because of numbers. It's wanting you to say, it's wanting you to make the mistake of saying it's a number. And you could store it as a number, and generally you'd be okay. But phone numbers are technically what we call pseudo numbers. So they are numbers, but they're not really. And there's a number of reasons for that. So some phone numbers, some countries, the phone number will be in the format like this. And if you just had numbers, you wouldn't be able to store those dashes. So some places, phone numbers can contain non-numerical characters. Also, if you take the number 0800 50 50 50, as a phone number, that's okay. If you stored that as an actual number, it would lose the leading 0, and that's no longer the correct phone number. So phone numbers potentially contain leading zeros, which you need. In normal numbers, leading zeros mean nothing. And finally, finally, you never have to add phone numbers. Never do any maths on a phone number. And there's no point in doing maths on a phone number, really. So you don't need to store them as numbers. So yeah, sorry, you would want to point out that I'd store phone number as text, and then any of these reasons would get you the 2 marks. There's others as well, but that's your basics. Finally, you need to evaluate this form, specifically the gender field and the payment type field. The obvious thing that jumps out at me for the gender field, gender has 3 radio buttons. They need to remove the extra one. Or alternatively, gender should be a drop-down box. So if you're going to be modern and feature all 17 genders, having 17 radio buttons is going to be really clumsy in your interface. So you want to just have a drop-down box. It's much more efficient and would generally look better for larger sized data. Another obvious point is that the box is too big for what it's saying, what it's filled with, but generally the ones I would go with are the fact that they've got an extra radio button and they would need to remove that or add more, or potentially they could swap that whole thing for a drop-down box. Payment type is even more obvious. What's wrong with it? To evaluate, they've used the wrong font, so payment type should, the label should match the other labels. Labels on the form. You could call that inconsistency if you wanted to use proper language. Also, payment type is either check, Visa, credit card. It does not need that much space. So the control box / text box is far too big. And again, like gender, there's only a certain number of different payment types. So payment type could also potentially be, you could use a drop-down box. instead of text box. And that would again minimize human error and generally be better UI design. And that is pretty much this. Sorry, it's not pretty much. That is entirely task 3. So I'm going to stop here.